So I thought I pressed the button and I didn't press the button. So I'm going to have to start that whole thing over again. Okay, so good morning. Yes, morning. It's only 10, almost 11. So good morning. Today we're going to talk about fruit flies and making fruit fly cultures. The video editing software I was going to use to make a certain kind of video and edit it and make it all fancy for you guys got banned, apparently, unbeknownst to myself, so I am using my fancy new camera. Watch this. Wait, why is it not working now? Never mind, I'm using a phone stand to do this video. Nothing chaotic today, I promise. I will hopefully get time to edit this later, upload it, do all the things, but today we're going to do it live. So, fruit flies and fruit fly cultures. As you are probably well aware, these are a staple point for feeding any young spiders, and so I am actually starting to run low on my culture. So we're going to start with, what do you need? Well, you need a pre-existing fruit fly culture. You can get them at a show, an expo, some pet stores sell them. I get mine online from Josh's Frogs. These are the teeny tiny melagonastic fruit flies. As you can see, they are thriving. And then these bigger ones are ones that I raise and breed myself. You can kind of see them up here. I prefer these for older spiderlings. Once they hit a certain size, I feel like, sorry, I'm being interrupted by a cat. I feel like the smaller fruit flies just aren't quite big enough. So you're going to need your pre-existing fruit fly culture, wherever you get that from. If you are kind of sort of local to me, you can get fruit fly cultures. I do believe the only place that I know that sells them they're good quality is We Love Pets in Marietta. Also, you will need, oh, sorry, can you see these better? These are my bigger ones. Now, these are not flightless. They do, well, some of them fly. You're going to need your medium. I also get my medium from Josh's Frogs. There are several recipes in which you can make your own. I personally have not had good luck with making my own. They're very unstable as far as like the consistency of the medium that you'll get. You will need your fruit fly cup. Also, I get these off of Josh's Frogs. There is a reason I do this way. It's not necessarily for the container, but I love these vented lids. They're the perfect circle, and I'll show you why this is such a big deal as we make this culture. You can use several different kinds of medium. I have this Josh's Frogs as Excelsior you can use. You can also use coffee filters. These and I kind of have a love-hate relationship when it comes to making fruit fly cultures. It's not that coffee filters are bad, but we'll talk about that a little bit more. Today I'm going to be using the Excelsior. When you do this, you are going to want to do it in a flat, easily cleanable surface. I've already made my medium. We talked about the Josh's Frogs medium. I like mine super thick. I know lots of people say mashed potatoes, but I personally like my mashed potatoes super creamy. This is going to be more of a chunky, almost a dough consistency. I have found this consistency to absolutely work the best for this. If you do any wetter, the culture doesn't last as long and it makes it a giant mess. So we're going to transfer our medium over into our cup, super simple. And I will be going through tips and tricks on how to get your fruit flies out of these cups, because that seems to be a universal problem that everybody has. And it can be messy. I know that sometimes people will stick them in the fridge to let them kind of cool off, and then they don't move around as much, but I find that to be incredibly messy, and when you're feeding spiders, you want way more control over how much you're feeding them. So, bowl all done. And again, I'm sorry, I don't know why this is not working over here, but we're going to mess with that later. Okay, so now we have our medium in our cup. We've got our lid. Next step is to throw in your Excelsior. Do not cram this down in there and pack the cup completely full. This is just to give them something to climb on as far as the adult flies go. If you put too much in here, you're going to restrict being able to get them out. But also, let's be honest, they're flies and they're not very bright. And this is why I say a surface that you can clean, because this excelsior is messy. You will get it everywhere. This is why I do this in the kitchen and somewhere a little bit, yeah, it's everywhere. Somewhere a little bit easier to get messes up off of. I definitely do not recommend doing this on carpet. This stuff is kind of like, I don't know, hay, but not. Alrighty. It's made from aspen wood, so it's kind of like having wood shavings stuck in your carpet. Okay, we have our cup completely full of our medium. Now, when you're making your medium, we talked a little bit about consistency. This is a powder. For a cup about this size, I use about 5 or 6 tablespoons of powder. You're going to want to hydrate it with water, of course. Oh, good morning, Emery. You're going to want to, rehydrate it with water, of course. But this is about where I like my cups filled to. You can do less, but mind you, it is their food source. And eventually it'll look like this. Sorry, I didn't realize the light was going to be a little bit bright, but it's going to get kind of gross in the bottom there, and they will eventually run out of food medium, which is where you'll start to see a decline in your population. This culture just started booming. You can see how lively all those flies are. So, with that being said, that's about where you want your level and consistency. Now, excelsior versus coffee filters. Coffee filters are a decent alternative if you don't have any excelsior on hand. I do use them, as you can clearly see. The issue comes from coffee filters will suck up moisture, right? So in this case, what ended up happening with this culture and why it didn't thrive is, if you look, you can see I put coffee filters in, and then I got my bag of excelsior, and I had to add some because these coffee filters got too wet. They collapsed, and then they kind of suffocated out a lot of my adult flies. So now I am struggling with, I just made this culture. It needs time to take off, time to spawn, and this one's pretty much done for because of those coffee filters. So they're definitely one of those that you have to be careful and pay attention to them, because once you put them in here and the worms get all over them, there's no phone call. There is no really taking them out of here without messing up your entire culture. So definitely keep that in mind. It does look like in this one that is going downhill, I do have some larvae, but I don't know if they're gonna make it. So we're just gonna make this secondary backup new one. So that's the issue with that I have with coffee filters. If you make sure that your excelsior, or I'm sorry, that your medium is dry enough, you shouldn't have that issue, but they're not really a long-term solution. Okay, next up, very important. Put your lid on. Now, again, I get these cups from Josh's Frogs. I do reuse them. So the tops, let me grab one of my older cultures. The tops, as you can see, don't really get dirty or gross in any way, shape, or form. So after these die off, I will dump them, wash them, and reuse the container itself, because they can get a little bit pricey. So if you're feeding lots of spiders, I definitely recommend trying to be as waste friendly as possible. And I just realized that I did not bring my sharp object, so we're going to use a pen. Next step, super important. This, on the inside, you're going to see these little holes. This is how it's vented. This is just kind of like a mesh gauze here. So all I'm going to do is poke one of these through. Now, I didn't cover this step, and you're just going to have to chill for a second while I grab a pair of scissors, because I didn't grab them before I started. Woo! I'm back. Okay, I like to get up in here with the scissors on the underside of the lid and cut away the free fabric. The reason I do this is, again, they're just flies, and let's be honest, they're not very smart, and they will get stuck on the stupid little ridges from this fabric, and it's like they won't come out the hole, and we need them to come out of the hole. So we're just gonna kind of flay that over a little bit. I find it easier to stick my finger through and kind of twist those fibers so that they round off. Nothing too difficult. Okay, once you have your hole poked and your container all ready, you are going to need this little cutie pie. This is your cork. It is absolutely essential that you plug this hole so you do not have flies all over your house. Now, the fruit fly culture I was needing was my large kind of like custom bred flies. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do. You can get these cute little jars. I prefer the longer ones. Now, mind you, I'm feeding lots of spiderlings, so I need a lot of flies. I use this bottle for transferring. So all you're going to do is pop out your cork and put your jar over. You can stop at this point if you are only feeding maybe 1 or 2 spiders, your fruit flies. You can just stop. They will crawl up inside, which right now they're going to prove me liars because they want to go to the light source. So I'm going to turn it so they can go to the light source and go up and through. This does take a while, and sometimes they will fall back down in, and it can be kind of a pain. So what I like to do personally, and I'm going to stand up for this, I like to pinch the cup so that the medium doesn't move. And as long as this medium is not runny, gross, icky, if I flip it, it shouldn't move. And I'm just going to tap some flies down into the jar. Yeah. They're working on it. Again, they're flies. We have to give them due credit for their level of intelligence. And this is how I would retrieve flies for feedings. Now again, this culture has pretty much had it. It did not thrive well due to those coffee filters, so I'm not going to get a lot out of here. The nice part is that I do not need a lot to start this culture. So, oh, they're all right there. Why am I having such a hard time with this? Ooh. Don't lose your corks. Don't do that. We're going to have one more go. I didn't realize that I had been tamping these flies down on the wrong side of the container. Okay, there we go. Get a couple of live adults. Now again, this one has some larvae in there, and they very well may perk back up, and I will have to do this again, but for right now. So from when the culture got strangled out, I did have some dead flies kind of come down in here, and I know it's really hard to see the flies in here, but I promise you they're in here. And then this is as easy as grabbing your new culture. You're going to take your jar and flip them down and into your new culture. Boom. All done. And the live flies that I did manage to get, you can kind of see a few of them crawling around there. And usually I will date this just so I know when I started the culture. It helps me kind of, well, that's not going to work, but it helps me manage what cultures I have, how long I've had them, that kind of thing. And it really does help you kind of manage when they take off. So it is already, what is it, the 20th? This one was made on the 8th, and as you can tell, it's needing a lot of extra time. I am going to take some of these, there's a lot of adult flies in here. I'm going to take some of them out and add them into this new one that we just did. So let's do that really fast. Same method. You're going to want to pinch, tilt, gently tap. And I don't want a lot out of here. Like I said, this culture is still brand new. It hasn't really started kicking up yet. Really, the thing you're trying to avoid with this is really messing with the larva too much. You don't want to stunt them. Get down there. This is not playground time. Now, again, slide the jar out of the way, pop your cork hole in, and at this point you can tip it up and kind of move your jar around, knock them down a little bit. Again, these are the flies that actually can fly, so I try to not release any. And again, give them a little shake, put them on the new, and just tap them down in. Super simple, and hopefully here shortly, one of these will start kicking off. Now, for demonstrative purposes, we're going to talk about feeding your spider. Being able to control how much you're feeding is obviously super important. So what you're going to need is another cute little bottle from the Dollar Tree. This one is one of their tie-dye kit bottles with the tip cut off. I use a pipe cleaner while I'm feeding. Again, I'm feeding so many and I have to put so many flies in here to feed that the pipe cleaner is necessary because they will try to crawl out. So I just crammed a pipe cleaner in there and made like a little, I don't know, like U shape out of it so it plugs the hole. Just so you can see what that looks like. It's a bottle IUD. All right, we're going to come over to one of our other cultures. I'm going to use these tiny melagonastic for this, just so that you can see how to feed your spiders. So basically, cork, same concept. You can give it a little tap too, knock them down off the sides. You're going to take the cork off, same thing, give your jar a little pinch so the medium doesn't float, and tap them in. And this seems overly rough, but I promise you it's not. The flies are not going to just magically die. Okay, we're going to do the cork slide really fast. And out of all these flies, I only managed to lose one. Yay! Not anymore. Okay, your handy dandy little jar. Now, most of my spider enclosures and like pre-baby cups are deli cups, and I will absolutely put corks in those. A lot of them already have them, but you saw what I did. I just tipped them over, tapped them down in, and I will tap them one more time before I screw this on. And then just with my finger alone, this is a handy dandy easy method to be able to easily, you can see them all down in the nozzle there, to easily control how many flies you're giving your spider. And once you've given them 2 or 3, you're just going to tap it back. And again, I use a pipe cleaner just for making sure that they can't crawl out and get all over the house. Now again, these are the teeny tiny fruit flies, so they don't fly, they crawl. But if you are remaking a culture off of a existing culture that you already have, sometimes just through breeding and all those changes that they're going through, you will get some flyers. That's pretty normal after a couple of generations of using the same flies. Honestly, guys, that was pretty much it. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. Leave me a comment. I will get back to you as soon as possible. But fruit flies don't have to be overwhelming as far as a food source. They're actually fairly easy. As you can see, I also made, well, there it is. I also made this one on the 8th, and it's still going strong. It's really kicked off. When you're done with your flies, I just give them a little swirl in the bottle, kind of confuse them, and I will just tap them back down in here. And that gets rid of any flies that I don't intend on using, put them right back into the culture. Or if you're feeling frisky, this would be a great way to start a new culture. It's a good way to get a couple hundred flies in there all at once. And that's it on fruit flies. You can keep these in a cool, dark place. They really just kind of thrive on their own. I do mine in the greenhouse with my spiders. I noticed that in the summer, they get going too quickly and they burn out pretty quickly. So in the summer, I will move them into like my closet where it's a little cooler and they last longer in there. But in the winter time, my closet gets absolutely too cold, so I move them into the greenhouse with the spiders, where they tend to stay pretty stable. They'll last me a good 2 to 3 months like this, if not a little bit longer. This culture is still going, and I started this one clear back in January. I'm sorry, not January, December. I started this one in December, at the beginning of December, and it's still going strong. However, I am going to kind of shift these silly little coffee filters a bit. There are plenty of recipes, again, for mediums. I will try my best to find one that I think is adequate for fruit fly cultures, that is easy to manage and make. And I will post that below along with the links for, you know, any fruit fly cultures on Amazon, the Excelsior, the medium. I'll get all that posted on this video so that you have access to where to get your stuff. Again, you can get a lot of these supplies elsewhere. These you should probably be able to use any food container as long as you have a drill bit for a drill that can drill a bigger hole. that you can get a cork into. You can definitely order just any kind of food storage container. I like these for the ease of it. Like I said, they're already pre-done and they have screening for ventilation. Fruit flies have this great tendency of being able to get out a teeny tiny hole, so even using a drill and drilling holes into this wouldn't work. Definitely 10 out of 10, do not recommend. I will do it for temporary cultures, like in a ketchup bottle or something like that, but it's definitely not something that is sustainable. Again, if you guys have any questions, you can always message me or leave me a comment below and I will get back to you. But this is just the easiest way that I've found to do these. I think I covered all the steps that I would give and all the tips that I would give. If you're going to feed fruit flies and you have lots of baby spiderlings, I would definitely recommend putting up fruit fly traps. I know it sounds kind of gross, but they do, if you do lose some, I have animals, so I will do the method that we were talking about where I will just take the cork out and leave it sitting like this, and they'll walk past, and of course every cat has to rub on it, and they tip over, and then I have flies everywhere. Fruit fly traps when you're feeding fruit flies is just kind of a necessary evil, so I definitely do recommend that. And then I will go through in a different video and we'll talk about what's appropriate for your spider at its age range and size range. Remember that when you're feeding your spider, it's all based off of size, and a lot of times these really only last your spider until about their I3 molt, these tiny melanogastrics. They're not enough of a meal to be substantial for your spider really any point past that. So you, at that point, you would want to start either looking at bigger fruit flies like these, or you would want to start moving them onto small mealworms, pinhead crickets, things like that. I hope you guys are having an amazing Monday. That will conclude this video. I will try to post another. I will see. This is why. This is why I need the editing software. I'm not gonna lie, I expected my kid to run in at any moment with some random thing. I'm just gonna pretend like I cut that out. I will try to post another video later this week. I have a whole series that I'm working on. It's just kind of a matter of getting to set everything up like it was today and just move right through the information. Hopefully I will have something else posted later this week. For right now, enjoy the rest of your month, and I will talk to you all soon.